Welcome, Reed Page, Summit Energy. Great to have you here.
Good to be here, Jerry.
First of the year, 2023. It's awesome. So thanks for coming on the Energy IQ. I guess we call it a San Juan IQ because we're talking a lot about the San Juan and the Western gas supply today. So um, I know we tried to get together around Christmas time or that week, but I could have squeezed it in, but I know that's hard to do. So, you're probably busy
Yeah,
with children and everything like that. How things
it,
been?
it was so crazy that week that I didn't want to talk to anybody, to be honest.
Right.
I was like, no, I don't think that I'm emotionally destroyed right now. I'm just like, oh, this is so crazy. It was tough. So I was like, as much as and also it was just fog of war, right? And so like nobody knew what was going on at that point, and prices were crazy. But I can share a price graph as we talk about what may or may not have happened, probably in the
Was it
last couple of
was it
weeks.
tough just because of the super freeze going across parts of the West, or freeze offs, or losing supply, or a little bit of what was
Yeah.
the challenge
Uh,
in your world?
Generally, when you see this sort of when prices go parabolic, when things go really haywire, it tends to be a confluence of multiple things all at the same time. I can't call it a black swan event, right? Because it was like it's bound. We all could
We
see it
always we
reasonably
always say
happening.
that. We always say that. Yeah.
Yeah, but it's like, well, we knew, and I've said this a couple times before. Like we're walking into a tinderbox, right? That is this winter because of storage levels and the possibility of constraints. And guess what? It was storage levels. We started out low. Constraints did occur during the highest send out days, like this cold snap that really went from Western Canada all the way to the Southwest, and sort of like blah, 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 started working its way through. And then everybody, all the utilities start sort of fighting over supply by calling constraints or calling operational flow orders, which sort of forces all shippers, all marketers, everybody to ensure delivery is equal to or in excess of their system load. And if they do not, then they have these giant penalties. And I think that this is a big piece of it. It sort of tells you when prices go to certain places, you're like, oh, I wonder, prices are at $50, prices are, at $40, $50 dailies. It's because there's somebody out there who is trying to avoid a $30 penalty,
I
right?
see. I see.
Or a 60 or what a $70 penalty, right?
And,
Because when they
and to
take a look at their
refresh
penalty,
everybody who listens to this, your markets are going to be mainly
my primary market is on the Dominion Energy utility here in Utah, across all of Utah, from the very top border with Idaho all the way down to St. George in the south, and then as well as Albuquerque. We have a book down there in Albuquerque, and Albuquerque Public Schools and a handful of others. So we have some industrial load down there as well. I did not see that level of people weren't as freaked out. I didn't see that. I didn't get that sense of panic down there in the Southwest, in the utilities. It was chilly and stuff. And I don't know how bad your freeze off situation was down there in the San Juan, but
we still
so
have two wells of our say 50 that are frozen off. We want to get them turned on ASAP. When I talked to our rep at Enterprise, so I mean we're
yeah, but I mean, you get when you have a snowstorm, you have access problems. It gets real muddy out there. You can't. There's too much snow, so you can't get a.
right.
Got to get a blade up there before you can take care of it. So it's like it's not just the freeze off; it's access
Yes,
problems.
yes,
And
yes.
so same problem in Southwest Wyoming, same problem in parts of Western Colorado, same problem all across Canada, right? So we actually saw a mild reduction, I think, a relatively small, but enough to really suck really bad. Say a few percent of Western gas flows came off at the same time when we're seeing huge consumption in all these different utilities. Now the utilities are forcing everyone to deliver, forcing at the point of a gun practically with huge potential penalties, which means all of a sudden, oh, I could be facing $70 a decatherm. I'm definitely willing to pay $50. Absolutely. Let's save 20. So the bids just start climbing, just start shooting straight up, and this is the price mechanism, right? We're trying to shut off the people who can't afford it, right? So it's sort of allocating resources towards its highest value use via free market and a price mechanism. And then layer on top of that a few constraints in a few different places. That was pretty notable. I believe that there's some constraints coming out of Waha, coming out of the Permian. There were some constraints, and so there was a chunk of Permian gas that couldn't even make it out. Well, guess who's the next door neighbor down the road on the way to Southern California? the SJ Basin. So we saw San Juan prices like shoot up. Earlier in the month, we saw Opal and Sumas prices, like they went up early, and San Juan was still down. So I was like, okay, San Juan still is good. And then they came back down. And then before Christmas, we saw everything go up because that big cold front came sweeping over. And then, so as Sumas, Opal, and San Juan, all just went through the roof. And all at the same time, we were working into bid week. And so everyone had chaos and panic on their minds.
They had those high prices on their mind,
and the market was thin for fixed prices. So people trading fixed prices. I think people were terrified of entering the fixed price market, so they were probably doing index buys and purchases only. People didn't want to risk going in doing a fixed price and then being on the wrong side of it because it could be existential. Right? It could pose an existential risk. So nobody did. And then, like, for example, Northwest Rockies set on about like 9,000 decatherms, about like 4 or 5 trades total of very small volume because nobody was interested in throwing their hat in the ring. I think that there were some over-the-counter trades that occurred directly between counterparties that were then reported to Platts because based on the volume that we saw, our weighted average was like, okay, 41. So we were expecting maybe 41. And then it posted 49, and we're like, oh no, a whole bunch more got done on the Friday before Christmas than we had anticipated. It was probably quite a bit more at those in the 50s. So there were some $50 trades on the 23rd. And of course we can't see that because they're OTC. So, so there's like lack of liquidity because people are scared. And so they don't want to jump into this market. And now that market can be easily swung one way or another by just a few trades. And so that's what I mean. Like there's so many weird things, the confluence of just many weird things all happening at the same time. And this sense of terror that had washed over the market already just in the dailies, it all just kind of met in the middle to cause, what was it? Where was it? $36 EPSJ index. I don't have that one up right now, but it's like
$32.79.
There you go. 32.
Approximately
30. Are you kidding me? 32. So good for all of y'all index sellers, right? And make sure that you're meeting your index obligations. Make sure you're overproducing them. Dailies right now are pretty much dead. Again, they've crashed right back down in San Juan, in CIG, at South of Green. But guess what? Opal still trading at like $17 a decatherm dailies, and you have like a $19 Balmo. So there's still a lot of worry out there. There's a lot of worry, and that kind of plays out in the balance of the month trade, where you can see that there's people out there willing to buy $19 Balmo because they're afraid of dailies going back up to 29, 35, stuff like that. So it's pretty wild. But Rockies fixed in at like $49. So
really? For the Piance and
for
Southwest
Rockies. Yep.
Wow.
So your Rockies indexes are at 49 and 51 respectively. I think that YO posted at 51, but Rockies general posted at like 49. So it's crazy. It's crazy. All my deals are like a ton of my deals are at index, and my sales are all at index to my downstream customers. So you've got industrials that are like the ones that didn't hedge when we were trying to convince them to for months, $8, $9. Oh, that just feels too expensive because we're used to buying $3 gas, or we're used to buying $6 gas. We've been spoiled for the last 5 years by garbage gas
listening
prices.
to you. You don't know anything.
Yeah, don't listen to us. $49. Well, you idiot. You can lead a horse to water, but can't make him drink.
Right. Yeah. So,
anyway,
the national media is kind of interesting because you don't hear hardly anything about what's going on the West Coast.
Hear nothing. Total radio silence. Our indexes, we're paying more for gas than Europe is. And they're in the middle of a war and a giant pissing match with Russia. So so I don't know. It's like I said, it's clown world, man. And it's going to come off. obviously in November, February is trading in like the, I don't know, what is it, 14s or something like that for Rockies.
Okay.
Probably like, I can't remember, probably like 11s or 12s for SJ. My board's a little bit messed up where my basis comes in, so I can't remember. But NYMEX now is sub 4, sub 4 per February. It's like 375. Well, a big piece of it is, okay, Gulf storage levels are pretty solid. They're pretty solid. And look, Freeport's still down, and they're probably going to extend their outage for another few months, as we just found out this morning. So you've got 2 BCF a day that still gets to hang out here in the United States. Right. So they're like getting crushed by an abundance of gas. And then just a hop, skip, and a jump over to the West, prices are $49, on the index, or $17 on the day. So it just goes to show, yeah, we got a lot of gas just in the wrong place. We don't have it just in places where you just can't get it from A to B. Same issue in New York.
That begs the question I have about developing gas in the Rockies, in these federal lands, in these areas that's really hard to get permits. I'm not sure if you're one to know, but I'm sure I'd like to talk to somebody who talks about what's our deliverability between the San Juan and the Southwest Wyoming and Piceance area, all these supply basins that have been on a pretty steady decline, and there's not been the Permian Basin drilling right in here as we've seen in southeast New Mexico and West Texas. So,
yeah, we still have to take a look. We have to take a look at like, these are knowable things. It's knowable what the total capacities are, what the subscribed capacities are, of firm transport between these supply basins. And yeah, there's space from the Piceance down to the San Juan, for example. There's a couple 100,000 decatherms of available firm capacity of pipeline space that can get down, but Piceance is massively declined, right? Is massively declined. There's a lot of let's see, I don't know fully the capacity on, say, El Paso North Main Line or South Main Line, but I get the sense that those are fully subscribed, like, because we see constraints on those every year anyway. And like, we always see constraints on North and South Main Line. Gas demand in Southern California has only grown in the last few years, and pipeline capacity has not necessarily grown because we have not heard of any big expansions for a whole list of reasons that I think we've discussed before. From southwestern Wyoming, Kern River, that is fully subscribed, like top to bottom, I'm pretty sure. And we still see the occasional constraint on that system. So at this moment, if we were to see a cold snap in Southern California, hello, $90 dailies,
Okay.
So
just because they haven't
we haven't beefed up the infrastructure, and part of it though is because usually you can't beef up the infrastructure without somebody out there ready to underwrite those expansion projects through a 20-year purchase of firm transmission.
Right, and nobody
wants to do it.
An end user that's going to say, we're behind this, we want this gas coming here for these reasons.
I mean, no one in Southern California is going to, because Southern California wants to kill nat gas.
Yeah,
in general,
that's just their policy.
So I just don't foresee I really don't see a solution to this for on El Paso or on Kern, definitely not. But when you look at like Sempra's deal down in Baja, like Costa Azul, the next expansion on El Paso is going to probably be for that. If there's going to be an expansion, it's going to be for that, I think.
The real constraint I hear is from, say, Southern California there down into Baja. They can get it into Southern California, but they got to go through California to get it there. Is that
they're going to try?
Is there expansion needed on the South Main or the North Main?
So they'll have to expand South Main. It's going to be South Main. They're going to expand South Main, and they're going to try and attempt to bypass California. You won't have to be in California. They just need to build a pipe from the end of the South Main Line in Arizona across into Mexico, and then on all the rest of the way over to Costa Azul. That's like the only way to do it, so that you're not in California's jurisdiction. and you don't have to mess with Southern California. You don't have to mess with California. So that's like the way to go. You'll have to chat with some of the Sempra guys that we saw at the Western States and Tribal Nations thing earlier in
in mid-December. Yeah,
that was great.
You went to that.
Yes. John Harpole was there. He gave
he's great. He's great. Yeah,
that was awesome. They were a good group there, and a lot of this discussion about infrastructure. And so honestly, just the nature of the market and the hostility towards oil and gas generally, and the talk of transition and decarbonization and stuff, it just creates new headwinds for the construction of new infrastructure, which is why WSTN exists, right? To counteract a lot of those pressures. So what I think that we're going to need to see is just an expansion, obviously, on El Paso, probably South Mainline, because that's really where all that gas is going to go. And we might see like the San Juan gas will be able to loop around and make its way into, say, Sempra, or not, or maybe just more of the Permian gas. It doesn't really matter where the gas comes from, as long as it's off of the same system.
It'll all equalize out.
And it equalizes out, and then it's going to push your long-term prices up out of the San Juan. It's just the rising tide lifts all boats. You'll also see a rise in prices in Piceance, right, in the South of Green area. And if these guys are really serious about sort of diversifying into other basins, then they're going to have to look at, let's buy a bunch of capacity to underwrite the expansion on El Paso. But let's also buy a few 100,000 decatherms of capacity, maybe half a B, on Williams Northwest Pipeline, and let's make a deal with the Piceance, with a Piceance producer, and we can, they'll get discounted by the cost of long-term transport, whatever. But that price, it's still going to give a big boost to the Piceance Basin and a San Juan. And now they'll have a diversity of, we have a whole, say, the lion's share is coming from the Permian. Then a good chunk of it's coming from San Juan. Then we also have, maybe 8% or like 20% of it coming from the Piceance, which lifts the Uinta, which lifts Wyo, so it's just everything goes up as soon as, Sempra shows up with their half a B, and it's really their expansion. It's really going to be,
it's what's next down the road years after that.
Yeah, totally.
They've got a project in Corpus or in Louisiana as well, don't they?
I think so. I haven't followed the Gulf, like the Gulf stuff very closely, because I just don't.
I just heard about that. It just I thought it was remarkable, because Sempra seems to me like reminds me of the old SDG&E, really, the old San Diego Gas and Electric and SoCal. Is that right? And it's kind of a hybrid.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, big parent. Yeah. So.
Yeah, and so real quick though, I guess we've said a lot already. And I hope I'm making up for last time, because I feel like last time I didn't say very much.
Well, I just jumped right in because I figured.
Let's do away with the
time here.
But I can share real quick and just show the graph, and then hopefully you see my mouse pointer. But let's see. You'll have to enable my screen share though. Go into either, what is it, under security, or maybe under screen share, enable participants to share.
Okay, right. There you go. Should be good.
Sweet. All right, let's pick a screen. Let's go InfiniCloud.
By the way, thank you so much for coming on. I know how swamped you've been, and I guess we all are. So it's
I really like coming on. This is super fun. I really I go on the radio in my hometown back in Roosevelt, Utah on occasion, and I give market updates as well, and that's a good time. I love live. Live is a lot of fun.
Yeah.
But here's your dailies for December, right? And can you see my pointer here? Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, so you can see how December started, and I have CIG. I just want to include CIG, Opal, and EPSJ, and you can see this is San Juan Blanco pool. Yeah, I think this is SJ Blanco, and yeah, so you can see that Opal got just shot way up, and that was really crazy. And we thought that we were going to see everything settle down again, and so we got this sort of false sense of, okay, things are evening out at a paltry $30 per decatherm.
Paltry, yes, yeah.
So it's a steal. It's a giveaway.
Terrible
at $30.
pricing. Terrible pricing. Yeah.
Gosh, dang it. And index was like what, $12 or $11.39 or something like that for Rockies, and I think it's in the tens.
San Juan was 10 or something.
Yeah, tens. So man, we're up and above the indexes. And then all of a sudden, just before Christmas, right, the 21st, the 22nd is when it just launched. And yeah, we were seeing over 50 at Opal and, in the 40s for both CIG and we also saw a constraint. We saw some outages. We saw force majeures on CIG and just, yeah, and everybody kind of converged here, sort of. And then flatlined on the way into New Year's, which is crazy. And now, yeah, we're talking $4, 350, 330 CIG, 330 White River Hub, upper threes for San Juan, and we're still in the upper teens for Opal. It actually shot back up again. So, yeah, but this is that's why this is when you wanted to talk to me, and I was like, nah.
Yeah, I understand.
I'm out. I don't want to talk to anybody for just a minute.
Yeah, you're under the hood staying busy. Yeah.
Yeah. Anyway, so that's where. So, but now, again, the Balmos are all pretty high, so there's a lot of worry out there still. So I don't know what to hope for. I don't have to cross my fingers for. It's like depends, because I have customers on the downstream side and customers on the upstream side. Some of my producers that are on those WIOs are just loving it. They're really liking it. Obviously, all my producers that I'm buying index from are really loving it. And it's going to be good. Those settlement checks at the end of February are going to be, they're going to be too heavy to hold with two hands. So,
right.
Yeah. But
nationally, the forecast is gas is going to be down this year. Getting Freeport back on, that's gas already spoken for. Some of the new terminals might be coming on in 24. Most of those that they're working on right now, and those are in the Gulf to move things out of here. So, do you have something on that? Something.
Well, I don't have anything on. So when Freeport kicks back on, it's going to give a little bit of a boost. I think that we're going to see storage levels in the Gulf. We're going to be coming out of winter above average, right? So if we look, I've got EIA storage that just came out this morning, and you can see right here that the Pacific storage level is 33% below the 5-year average, and we're 25% below where we were last year at the same time. That is a huge piece of the story. And Mountain, we're 9.2% below the average for this time, for the 5-year average. East is 6% below. Okay, Midwest is again, it's not way too far off. South Central, average, yeah. Overall, South Central is only 2% below. So it's nothing. It's like really within reason.
Everything is good there. Yeah.
Yeah, and if we take a look at some of these storage, we could probably do some trend stuff here and take a look at expectations for weather in the spring. You could see South Central, you could see the Gulf posting above average coming out of winter, in a big part because of Freeport, right? We've still been seeing production growth, out here in the Gulf and in West Texas and stuff. And so we could see them post above average. Freeport comes back on, everything sort of goes back to normal. But this next storage season could be really crazy. We could see storage levels getting filled up really, really fast if it's a mild summer. If we have a mild to normal summer, we have a lot of storage. I think we could face quite the opposite. We could see prices in the fall plummeting, because we're going to have so much gas flowing into storage. And just starting the storage season, starting spring with maybe above average down here, I would keep an eye on that. See who ends. Yeah, for South Central in particular. And look, not like non-salt is already above average, right? 3.1. This is bigger than salt, right? This is bigger than just the salt domes right there, Beaumont or whatever, East Texas and Louisiana.
It's almost, yeah.
So this is some much bigger piece, and it's already above average. So this is going to just keep on pushing, and you could end up with all of South Central being above average coming out of winter again. And so here in the West, we'll be playing catch up, which we may never, not really, because the production gains just aren't big enough. And we'll see what spreads do between. We could see huge price spreads between spring, fall, and winter. You could see $4 price spreads, $7 price spreads, and everybody's going to be buying January ahead of time. So you could see. I don't know what it's trading now. Looking forward, it's probably $7, $8, but it's a steal right now. Go long, buy next January if you're a buyer. Don't touch it. Don't sell it. Don't sell it if you're a producer. Don't sell.
Right.
Don't hedge next winter. It's going to be crazy.
Yeah.
Maybe hedge the fall. I don't know, because I just think the shoulder months I think they have some room to fall down, because storage is going to get pretty wild. But I don't know. That's just my 2 cents. We'll see what we do here. But yeah, storage is everything. You know, it's all storage, current flows, and heating degree or cooling degree days. So volatility is on the menu, guys. Volatility.
Okay.
We haven't seen the end of it.
I mean, summer, I remember, I mean, a lot of that was the Russian-Ukraine conflict. And a lot of it was just heating, cooling demand. I mean, hot summer, cooling, just huge amount of cooling demand, which pushed things up.
In early September, we saw megawatt hours trading massive, just crazy through the roof in Texas, because they had sort of a hot spell, just a heat wave that came in at the beginning of September, and they were like facing the potential for brownouts all over again and stuff like that. And of course, a bunch of the big industrial Bitcoin miners kind of stepped in and shut down and flooded the market with power. But yeah, things are pretty, but still, cooling demand just pales in comparison to heating demand. You know, so you just see a little bump at the end of the summer. Nothing like and you don't see the daily anomalies in the summer, even with crazy cooling demand that we do, because that's all dependent on a fixed amount of gas powered fire generation capacity, which has a limit. You know, and it can only go so far, right? So that demand is truly limited.
Well, so we're in our third winter of La Nina conditions, which hasn't happened since 1950.
Yeah,
it's not as cold and not as wet because everything is going north of us, right? Is that correct?
Well, we in Salt Lake City we are like 170% of snowpack for this time of year. We have already equaled last year's peak snowpack, and we've gotten like 9 feet worth of snow, 3 water feet worth up in the mountain. So we've been getting hammered. It's like snowpocalypse 2022.
Okay. So
which is awesome. Which is
part
great.
of the northern. You're part of the
we're catching it,
which hits the north, and
yeah, we're
catching
stays
away from the desert Southwest and Central Rockies, I guess.
Yeah, but it's good for the Green River Basin, right, and the Colorado River Basin, and so so that's a sort of a good thing, and maybe hydro won't be so terrible next summer, maybe.
Right.
We'll see, but just too many moving parts. It's hard to keep track of. But
well, in Colorado, we have our northern, central, and southern ski areas that have
haven't done so well.
A varying degree of snow based on these weather phenomenons. And like I said, the north has been like Utah. It's been getting a lot of good snow, Steamboat and some of those areas. But then you get down to the southern part of the state, and those aren't as well.
Right.
I don't have exact numbers.
Just a little too far down, yeah.
Even the central part of the state, we've kind of struggled a little bit,
We've had shutdowns. The resorts have had a couple days shut down because they could not open because they've had too much.
Yeah, that's a good problem.
Couldn't handle avalanche conditions, and the roads got shut down because they got wiped out and all kinds of great. So we'll be skiing on the 4th of July again this year, like we were 3 years ago. That was the last day Snowbird was open.
Yeah, so, nice. That's nice.
For somebody, I haven't been out.
Well, one of my other thoughts or questions is, I mean, I look at the San Juan Basin, and some of the new drilling we have is constrained by the permitting issues out there. Of course, there's a lot of drilling that's going on in the southern part. The permits are pretty well lined up for some of those operators down there. DJR Energy and Enduring, I think, has a good number. But then up in the northern part, it's a little bit slower because you're in the forest or you're in some BLM lands where it's taken a while. And then you have the problem of gathering constraints. So there's legacy lines galore out there, but they're handling a lot of these old stripper wells and wells that have been on them for 50 years or more. Some of them. So you've got an intra-basin choke point that's we're trying to work through that and get through some of that with our drilling, gas and oil drilling projects.
That's
but
interesting.
it's a
Well,
challenge. It's a challenge.
but is the gathering infrastructure just insufficient to cover the new volumes that
Right,
come on every
right,
time you
yeah.
bring
I
on?
mean, some of these new Mancus gas wells that come on are, 15 million a day, and they'll last that long for 30, 80 days. They just come on really
So
strong.
their IP super strong, and well, I'm curious. I mean,
And
you got two main gatherers. Well, I mean three. Red Seas
yeah,
Enterprise and Harvest, or oh my gosh,
Harvest Enterprise, yeah, primarily.
yeah, that's right. Yeah, Harvest. I was thinking of Hillcorp, but Hillcorp Harvest, and that's too bad that you have infield
Yeah,
constraint
but
issues.
I mean, and we're working on it, but I think even the respite for 2023 on lower gas prices is giving us all a chance to work on that. And so we're working with consortiums and groups in certain areas to work together. So that's one
Well,
of the things I've been trying to push along. So we, have the forest people and the BLM people and have everyone on the same page.
we have similar problems where I'm from, back in the Uinta. Same issue. There are constraint where all the growth is just slightly removed from where the actual fraction, the processing capacity is,
Right.
but it might as well be 10 million miles away, right? Because it's just there's not the capacity to get the gas from where it is to where it needs to be processed and then delivered into the interstate pipelines. There's some very, very real issues there that is posing problems to the oil growth, which is the golden goose is in the crude oil. And now
Right.
the gas is being looked at as a byproduct, similar to what
Well, in the southern part of the San Juan Basin, the oil window, there's the gas oil ratio is probably 70-30 oil to gas. So it's going to be really rich gas. At least in our projects in the oil window, those we have arrangements with Enterprise to take that gas away from location. So those volumes aren't as big as the Mancus gas to the north. But
what's the cut of gas to oil on those Mancus wells? Or is it just
on
really
the
gas and
Mancus,
liquid?
on the Mancus oil wells, like I said, it's probably 65, 70 to 30, 35.
Oh, yeah, okay.
35 would be gas, and I mean just on a BOE equivalent basis.
Oh, yeah. But and value wise, well, at $3 gas, you're like,
it's creeping up. It's creeping up. Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
So we're getting with our old legacy, old stripper legacy wells. We're getting obviously a couple, 3-4 months worth of production right now. We'll have to, paybacks are always tough. we'll have paybacks, I'm sure, come summer or in the spring. So I mean, anyway, so that's one of the issues, but it's a challenging one, and just getting and the cost for new builds on between some of these companies is pretty high. So
just to bring new gathering lines, just getting gathering lines out to your wells.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, I'd be real interested in knowing how that, how you guys proceed there.
Yeah. Well,
again, we got to put some things together, some new ideas, and some of these intra basin constraint problems. And I think it's going to take some creativity and a lot of out of the box thinking and partnership between gatherer and producer to try and put all the pieces together and just make sure you want your gatherer hanging out there basically just before you're ready to bring that well on. You want them standing there with a meter, you want them standing there like, hey guys, we're ready for you. Let's get the flow back. Let's tie it on.
Produce and go. Yeah. So, I guess you could have supply. You could probably use a supply constraint analogy in pipe. It's big enough pipe in the northern part of San Juan to move it out. The southern parts would have to be looped. They got some pretty good lines in the southern part, and I think the gas wells in the southern part have declined more rapidly than the northern part. But you probably know that from what you buy out there. So
and from a gatherer's perspective, you want to know that you're going to get the return on that investment to beef up the area for the handful of producers that are down there working.
Well, here's what happens though. Let's say the gatherer has a line through a certain area, and he would need compression to keep his existing wells running, because these bigger wells, if they went through that line, they would shut everything off. So it
Oh, so then they'd
turns
pressure
into a
up,
compression issue,
and then they
compression
couldn't buck in.
/ volume issue. So
Yeah, so you'd have to put some suction on there so you can ensure that you can get the lower producers to still flow in,
yeah, because
and not just get pushed out, crowded out by the new wells that are.
those are the items at the store that are they're small items, but they're good margins sure for the gather, you know. But anyway, so it's interesting, and yeah, we'll keep working on that and let you know, let our listeners know. In fact, I think our next IQ will be on gas, on our projects, on how do we make this work. And do you see the similar things in Piceance or Southwest? Or, you mentioned Uinta, but does Piceance have any of this sort of problems as well? Or are they pretty well gathered up there?
They're pretty well. I mean, the infrastructure is there because it's declined so much, and the infrastructure still is there from when it was big. And so I think that I don't think that they have a terrible problem up there with capacity of getting over to their processing plant, like Meeker, or trying to think, maybe like some of the Utah gas stuff, Harley Dome and Dragon Trail, a couple others. But no, I don't think so. I think there's a lot of headroom. I think there's a lot of headroom in the Piceance. And so that's not really, I don't think that's the biggest hurdle.
Yeah, I think I talked to a guy the other day, and he said they're second largest producer up there, and they're drilling mainly verticals that are very strong verticals. None of this horizontal, which they can do some horizontal Niobrara.
I'm thinking Scout. Could be Scout, could be Karis, but I forgot Scout just bought the Chevron field up there.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, so I want to see. I just want to see it all. I want to see it all come back. I would love to see the gas flow now. Again, that's also a sort of a constrained area. It is their prices can be very depressed relative to WYO, but usually Piceance kind of follows San Juan. Piceance follows, it just discounted a little bit based on transport just to get it down to Bond at station. That's like the difference generally.
Right. Well, I'll get with some of our people who are in the know on volumes out of the San Juan and Piceance, just kind of how the whole macro picture looks like. I mean, I find it really interesting to know that, just because you want your gas to be coming in when there's ability to move it out from the tailgate to market. So I mean, that's so key.
Yeah, you've got two things. You got get it to the plant and get it from the plant to where it has value.
Right.
And, and your plant might be sitting in a terrible location, and no matter how wide open you are to get to the plant, you still are selling really, really cheap.
Well, I think our prospects are sitting in far out locations.
Yeah.
The plant can't move.
You got pain on pain. It can be pretty tough, but gathering, that's like my next big adventure. Maybe, who knows? We'll see. But now that we have kind of a fair handle on some of this interstate stuff, right?
Yeah.
Regional
sounds like you're right you're doing a lot of great stuff. I'd love to hear your enthusiasm, and appreciate you being on the Energy Santa Juan IQ this month. We'll
Thanks
put it out
me.
there, and I think it'll be a popular show that people want to listen to. And
yeah, I hope so. And if anybody wants to reach out, they just reach out, say hi, ping me. You can catch me.
Page Summit Energy, and say, if I get anybody to follow up, we'll send them your way.
Yeah, I mean, you can put my name and phone number and email right in the bottom of the link, when you send it out.
We'll do that.
Yeah, I'd love to just chat with people if they want. If I don't market your gas, I don't care. We'll chat. There's always something interesting to learn. So, yeah.
It's never too boring in this industry, though, is it?
I wish it was sometimes. Sometimes I wish that it was. I'm looking forward to summer. I'm a winter climbing guy, but I'm really looking forward to summer right now. I'm just really looking forward to it.
Well, let's hope that we can get some terminals working to move the Freeport back on, and then the other plans for other terminals in the Gulf Coast, because that's really the United States' biggest contribution we can give to the world is a lot of really good, cheap
spend over our molecules. Gas. We did surpass. Was it Qatar as the largest exporter of LNG
Okay,
very recently. So we're it.
we
Crude
are
oil,
it.
nat
We're on
gas, LNG exports. We're
yes, yeah.
the kings of it all. So
Well, and when we get up to 20, I mean, 24, we should be at 24 BCF if everything comes on as accordingly. 2024, isn't that right?
yeah, I think so. And we got,
2024 BCF. I mean, it's almost a doubling.
yeah, there's a lot. So we're gonna be keep making gas, everybody.
Okay.
Let's just hope we can do it profitably.
Well, thank you, Reed. Really appreciate it. Thanks everyone for coming on, and we'll see you next time. For over 50 years, Process Equipment and Service Company, or PESCO, has been proudly designing, building, and maintaining production equipment for its customers. Located in Farmington, New Mexico, PESCO sells and services units from across the western United States, from large majors to small independents like Sunwind Resources. PESCO is proud to sponsor the Energy IQ, and they look forward to working with you, supporting the San Juan Basin community in any way they can. Whiptail Midstream operates crude oil, natural gas, and water gathering systems in the San Juan Basin to handle growing production from the Manga Shale. With more than 500 miles of well-positioned infrastructure, Whiptail is capable of delivering 38,000 barrels of oil per day, 100 million cubic feet of natural gas per day, while gathering and safely disposing of 8,000 barrels per day of produced water. Whiptail is an energetic and innovative company, is happy to support improving our energy IQ.